I would make a personal statement after 12 o'clock today in regard to the misrepresentation and misreporting in much of the media over the last 48 hours to do with the proposed legislation that the coalition government will introduce into Parliament, presumably this week sometime, on a gang patch insignia ban that will extend throughout the country. The idea, or at least the aegis for this, started in Wanganui, still called Wanganui, by the way, despite the attempts of various newscasters to rebrand the city Whanganui, which even local Māori who campaigned for the H don't call it. But the aim, or at least the origins of the gang patch insignia ban, came in Wanganui, in the city or the district of Wanganui, at the start of the century. Then it was picked up in a John Key government by Roger Macleay's son, Todd Macleay, who I think must have been the Minister of Internal Affairs at the time, and a gang patch ban was extended to New Zealand's schools and hospitals, public buildings, essentially. But now the view, given the menace of gangs in this country, is that this gang patch ban insignia be regarded as one tool in the toolbox to arm the police, to allow them to confront what is the spectre of gangs in this country and their growing, if you like, menace to the law-abiding folk of this country. And in particular, ironically, to Māori, who are more than likely to be the victims of gang crime in this country, and crimes that even extend to the execution of individuals who are considering to have told tales on members of the mongrel mob, Black Power, Hells Angels, Comancheros, whoever, the variety of gangs that have come into this country. Now, over Sunday, and on Television New Zealand in particular, Radio New Zealand, and then aided and abetted by coverage of former Police Minister Ginny Anderson, a number of false statements were made by the mainstream media as to the effects or otherwise of the Wanganui gang patch ban. And given that I was the mayor of Wanganui at that time, I want to set the story straight. So I've got this personal statement about my experience with it and the effects consequential upon it. And it goes like this. My name is Michael Laws. I was the mayor of Wanganui, or Wanganui, from 2004 to 2010, when the gang patch ban bylaw was introduced, and I championed its passage through Parliament and was publicly responsible for it at the time. There are various media reports that are not entirely accurate, in fact inaccurate, with regards to the reporting of the operation and effects of that gang patch ban. One, it was prompted by the murder of 2-year-old Gia Tatua, by mongrel mob members. She was killed in a drive-by shooting of her Periri Street home in Wanganui, in which her Black Power father was resident. It followed a number of public disorder incidents in the city involving the intimidation of citizens in the main street and at the Kauai Park Children's Playground. It was a local bill passed by Parliament but written by ourselves, the Wanganui District Council, that applied only to the Wanganui/Wanganui district. It received the strong support by referendum, that is, all citizens able to vote in a referendum especially held in Wanganui, of 2/3 of residents and ratepayers in Wanganui. Local police were initially reluctant to implement it, that is the bylaw, or the local bill, but received direct instruction from the police regional commander in Palmerston North to do so. In fact, the argument of the local police chief at the time was that they were managing gangs fine, to which obviously the public of Wanganui did not agree. Obviously, clearly. And the regional commander was very angry, and he talked to the Wanganui police sergeant, I think, who was in charge at that time, and essentially read him the Riot Act and said, "You will enforce the law." It was an interesting piece of internal police action. It was an effective tool, the bylaw, because it was then used by the police to harass, annoy, and upset gang members in their activities in the district. For example, by applying the bylaw, they could also search cars in which gang members travelled to detect and prevent other crimes that might be in operation. Now, the police, a year later, commissioned independent academic research as to the bylaw's effectiveness and published that research. It is freely available, but unreported, I note, by almost everybody who has participated in this debate over the last 48 to 72 hours. The conclusions of that academic research, independently conducted, were A, that the gang bylaw was a very useful policing tool for keeping gangs under control in Wanganui district, and B, gang membership in the city actually dropped 15%, 15%, because gang members left town because they were unable to display their patches or insignia, and that reinforced the value of the gang patch to a gang member. A 15% drop in gang membership in 12 months. The gang patch bylaw was overturned in the High Court on appeal from, in actual fact, the lawyer, Mr. Rollo from the Hells Angels, because the High Court judge deemed that the area covered by the bylaw was too large. It covered most of the district, in actual fact, and that a new bylaw could be drafted, but that it centred just upon the CBD playgrounds, etc., where the incidents of intimidation were to have occurred. Now, I retired as mayor in 2010, October 2010, and the incoming mayor and then council after me decided not to implement a new bylaw, doing such because it was as much an ideological decision from their point of view, because of course the bylaw still had strong public support. Referendum. Overall, the ban was effective in reducing gang visibility and reducing inter-gang incidents in the district and city, and clearly in reducing gang membership. So that is the gang patch ban, the Wanganui/Wanganui experience after the passage of that local bill.